Welcome back. Today, we're diving into a story full of tension and humor about an Eastern European guy and a clever communication expert in a gripping dialogue saga. The supervisor thought of Nick, also Eastern European, maybe they'd communicate better. Nick promised entry to New York if he resolved the crisis. Immediately, Nick hurried to the scene, using his great communication skills and endless patience to calm the man's excitement. After learning the situation, Nick told the supervisor the medicines were for his father. The supervisor still stuck to his principles, face locked. Nick was at a loss, and the supervisor's rules felt like an unbreakable wall. Eventually, the man was taken away by security in his time of need. Nick stared intently at the medicines when a brilliant idea suddenly crossed his mind. He thought to himself, if these medicines were intended for animals, the procedures would certainly be much simpler. With inspiration flowing abundantly, Nick had become well versed in the rules already. However, the supervisor wasn't going to let up, insisting on a personal confirmation. Nick gestured, but the man was entirely lost. Ultimately, the man saved his father, exhilarated like he'd just won the lottery, thanking Nick. The supervisor, seeing this, fumed like a classic villain in a movie. He angrily shoved Nick, blaming him for ruining everything, making it feel like a scene from a comedy. When Nick returned to the lobby, he heard that the janitor had spread the word about the incident like a best-selling novel. After the event, the staff dropped their prejudices, looking at Nick with admiration, as if he were a real-life hero. The restaurant walls were covered with Nick's handprints. The scene was almost comical, while the supervisor quietly turned and walked away. The boss' advice to the supervisor felt scripted as he said, "Rules are dead, but people are alive. You should learn from kind-hearted Nick." The supervisor was unimpressed, rage summoned Nick like it was a courtroom trial. Faced with his threats, Nick remained unfazed, thinking it was just another small hurdle. Each challenge only made Nick stronger, like kids learning to grow during a storm. Nick's heart grew firmer with each compromise, as friends began to plan a romantic rendezvous. So friends stealthily sneaked into the records room to check flight info, like secret agents on a mission. Nick specially went to the airport suit shop to pick a handsome outfit, as if getting ready for an award ceremony. As soon as Ella got off the plane, the friends kicked off their operation. The delivery guy blocked her path with a cart, like they were filming a comedy. Old Black cornered Ella, and eventually she inadvertently sat down on Nick's lap, making the scene resemble a scene from an action comedy. Reunited after so long, joy filled their hearts. Ella, seeing Nick in his snazzy suit, couldn't stop the compliments like she was at a fashion show. As night fell, Ella chose a simple, classy black dress, ready for her date with Nick on the airport terrace. Nick's friends were as professional as event planners, arranging everything flawlessly, crafting a warm and romantic ambience. Even the usually quiet janitor didn't want to be left out, putting on an amazing talent show. In this dreamlike ambience, Ella felt Nick's thoughtfulness, as if she had been waiting all along. Having been in the industry for 20 years at 39, she had met all sorts of people, her heart feeling a mix of emotions. Finally, deep down in her heart, she hoped to find someone who could truly bring her peace. Just as she pondered the future, her pager suddenly went off, unexpectedly interrupting her pleasant daydream. Meanwhile, Nick's gaze was soft, although everyone was waiting. Each person sought something different. They always told me to wait patiently, and just as she was about to speak her heart, her pager buzzed again. At this point in time, Ella resolutely decided to take a courageous action, and thanks to the combined efforts of her friends, this longed-for-perfect date finally became a dreamlike reality. However, time flew, and with her busy schedule, Ella had to leave, saying she'd be back in 13 days. At the moment of their parting, Nick posed a question concerning Napoleon, as if they were immersed in a timeless classic old film. Ella unexpectedly gave him a sweet kiss, filling Nick with joy in an instant, making the world feel warm and bright. Amidst the warmth, Nick was completely unaware of the camera overhead, as if everything belonged in a movie. Once back in the waiting area, a romantic idea struck him, turning the wall by the sink into a surprise for Ella. He poured his heart into it, meticulously crafting every detail, reflecting his deep love for Ella. After 13 days of careful preparation, Ella returned right on time, but as she entered security, staff stopped her in her tracks. She was then taken to the supervisor's office, whereas Nick, on the other side, waited eagerly and hopefully for their reunion, only to encounter heartbreaking disappointment. "I never understood who you really are. Your true identity has always been a mystery." "You really don't understand, do you? I came here specifically to tell you he's alive, and that I'm free." Her voice brimming with disappointment, she uttered a few words before turning to leave, as if fleeing from the dilemma. Nick hurriedly chased after her, attempting to persuade her to stay, looking as comical as a hero in a funny movie. He was burning with anxiety, trying desperately to squeeze out a few words, but it all seemed hopelessly too late. Nick took Ella to a secret location, as the curtain slowly lifted to reveal beautiful fountains. Ella was stunned, yet felt profound suffering due to not knowing Nick's true identity. She didn't understand why he had stayed at the registry for 9 months, as Nick quietly pulled out the treasure left by his father, a precious bound photo. This photo encapsulates all of his father's efforts and dreams, meticulously compiled over a span of 40 years. But fate was cruel. Just when his father was about to collect the last signature, he left this world, and now the musician was in New York.